Hey everyone, welcome to the end of the year. And I know everybody else is doing this, but I thought I'd get on it too. And I want to look at some of the favorite Kickstarters that I've backed in 2024 in the world of comics. So, just for a frame of reference, turns out I backed 210 comics projects on Kickstarter this year, which I know is a drop in the bucket compared to the total number of comics that were produced on Kickstarter, but I did manage to back a bunch of them, and so I went back through. All my boxes are behind me, and picked out some of my favorites from this year, and I wanted to share them with you all and see what you think. So surprisingly, it's hard to go from 210 different projects to 15. So a couple of rules. Obviously, I had to have the comic in hand. Otherwise, I can't tell you about it, which means that one of my favorite comics, Oliver the Last Paladin, is not here because I can't find it. I don't know where I filed it. Still a great comic. Has a lot of Terry Moore elements that I really like. So I'm sorry it can't be there. But, it was something that I was really excited to back and I really enjoyed, but it's not here. And then there are some other projects like the Kolchak comics that I'm excited for but haven't arrived yet, so they can't make the list. So without any further ado, let's get to it. And I'm going to start. Some of these you'll have seen videos for. Others I haven't gotten around to making the videos yet, or you may not have seen them because a lot of people don't watch the indie videos. And there are so many great things on Kickstarter. There are so many incredible projects in Kickstarter Comics that, it would be impossible to grab all of them, but these are the ones that I grabbed that I really liked. So Lady of the Black Van, this was one that I really enjoyed, and I'm surprised. It had a lot of the elements of a lot of the NSFW comics in the description, and I thought maybe that would be what we're kind of seeing here. But honestly, it wasn't. It had a really interesting plot, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next. Yes, it's very not safe for work, just to be clear on that, but there's a really good story and a plot line behind it. And then the Collected Letters of Courier Z. This one is just a really interesting comic, really well done by Nick Bryan and team. And it's a bunch of different interconnected stories that, again, I really liked. And this is one that got a lot of attention, but I think it still should have gotten more because it was just really good. Evil is a Weapon by Edward Hunt, issues 1 and issues 2. I actually picked up issue 1 at a local comic book shop, and he was nice enough to sign it for me. But then issue 2 I backed in the campaign. I really love the black and white art, except for, obviously the red where there's blood. And I think that is really cool. I think he's done really great job with these two, and I know he's got more coming, so I'm really looking forward to what we're going to see from him in 2025. This is another one that I really loved. I backed it on a recommendation of the Awesome Comics podcast, and Blinded is a dark comic, and I mean that literally. It's about somebody who is blinded, and so they can't see anything, and all you hear are the bumps and the bruises and the people talking to, until you get to this page in the middle, which is just really cool, being able to see everything jump out at you like that. But even so, I also like just the plain black pages as this person tries to deal with the fact that they're blind and what that encompasses. It's a really cool way to look at the medium and how the medium can be expanded, medium of comic books, that is, how that can be expanded. And then No Spell Lasts Forever, number 3, came out this year. I'm a huge fan of Sarah Cook, and the story she's telling is great. It's a typical crime drama, but with magic, makes it that much more interesting and fun. So again, I really enjoyed those. Local comic book shop is a fascinating book, and again, one of those that I don't think enough people really liked and really saw. And it's too bad, because it's a post-apocalyptic world where comic books still have value, which is kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if that would ever be the case, but it's really interesting. And so when they go out hunting for comic books and finding valuable comic books and so on. And again, I really enjoyed the premise behind it. It's unique, it's interesting, and of course, it has to deal with comics, which is always my favorite. And then this one, I think, is going to be on a lot of people's list this year. Steamroller Man. I mean, this is such an incredible comic. It's, as it says, it's absurd, but it's absurd with really good storytelling, which means that you kind of want to jump in and see what it is, and what it's about. And Matthew Schofield, just incredible artist, and not just smart storytelling, but funny and clever storytelling. And I really, really like that. And again, I know he's working on issue 2, and I can't wait for issue 2 to come out. Matt Garvey is one of my favorite comics creators. And so Gangsters versus Nazis, issue 1. I know we ran into some problems with issue 2. But this is another really good one. I like those kind of pulp noir type style comics, and that's really what this is. The artwork feels very much of its time. It's set in the 40s, and anytime Nazis get punched is always a win for me. So this one definitely was up there on my list. Volume 1 of the Death of the Comics bookcase. So obviously this is a play on the death of comics, which you hear stories and see videos and stuff about that all the time. But this is the comic bookcase, the bookcase that's used to hold the comics, and what would happen if it came to life and started attacking. And there are just so many fun and interesting stories in here, all of which I really loved. I think Zach Quentin, who's the author, is just brilliant in telling fun and, again, intriguing stories. And I think you'll see in general a theme here. I love good art. I mean, everybody loves good art, but I really like great storytelling. And that's what you see in a lot of these comics that I like this year. Speaking of which, Samson. So this is Samson, the Nazi killer. And this is a Ben Lacey comic. Ben Lacey could have been in here a couple of times, because I also really like his Shark of War. But it's about a child who's held prisoner in a Nazi camp and experimented on and turned into a killer, but he uses his powers to hunt Nazis. And this first issue is really good. And again, I know he's going to continue this along, so I can't wait to see what he does with others. And then Chris Brimage, again, another wonderful storyteller. His Mandrill PI. So issue 6 was this year. But I just wanted to show all of them, because it's a complete story of issue 1 through 6 of Mandrill PI. And again, that kind of pulp noir style of comic that I really love, just with animals, and in particular a mandrill, which I did not know was what it was until until I read through it. And the story is a mystery, but it's world building, right? It's set in a world that mimics these kind of 40s hard-nosed detective type stories. but again with animals, and that makes it that much more fun and that much more interesting. And again, it helps that he's such a great storyteller. League of Cryptids. I'm just a fan of anything cryptids, and I really love this. This is from Comicsburg, and I think the team at Comicsburg do a lot of really cool stuff. This is Grant Lankard specifically, and it's got really good art. It pulls in a lot of the cool cryptids that you've seen over the years, and they go and they fight frogs, which literally frogs go to Loveland is the subtitle here. They fight a bunch of frogs and alien invasion and so on. And again, this was one that I got and really loved. And while we're talking Bigfoot, the Kate Carter Adventures. So if you know Rob Jones, Pittsburgh Rob Jones, not UK Rob Jones, he had the Kate Carter Adventures, or the High Spot Adventures, which starred Kate Carter. Now they've just turned into the Kate Carter Adventures, but same character and so on. And any Bigfoot story I'm going to be a fan of, because Bigfoot's just cool to write about. And so, and I love Rob's art style and kind of the throwback 80s adventure. It very much has that feel of Indiana Jones, which I know itself is a throwback to the 40s and the 50s and those kind of adventures. But for many people, that was their first experience at Indiana Jones. And so this mirrors that very well. And it makes you feel like, hey, this is something that is a lot of fun. And I need to, I need to learn more about, and I want to follow more of that character. Two more. Dead City Lullabies. So the art in here, it's oversized comics sometimes annoy me. High distillery, your comics annoy me, even though they're beautifully illustrated. But when you get illustrations like this, it completely makes up for it. This is a wonderful, intriguing story. And it's a future story trying to investigate the past. And I just, again, the Aidan Roberts tells such a good story here, and he tells most of the story through the art, not through the words. It's a lot of solo and people out by themselves, and so again, even when they're interacting with others, there's not a whole lot of text or word bubbles. But what was cool about Dead City Lullabies is it came with an album, and I love that blending of comics with music. It's such a kind of a cool thing to see. Dead Air is another one that almost made this list, and that's kind of that same way. And I want to see more of that in comics, where people are taking advantage of the medium and taking advantage of kind of all of the things that we can do with it now, with QR codes and links and Spotify lists and so on. You can kind of build this multimedia experience inside a comic book, which is something you really couldn't do before. I guess, in fairness, in the 60s, I know that some comics included like a 45 in the back of them sometimes, more as a gimmick than anything else, but you could really have an immersive multimedia experience inside of a comic book with the right capabilities, and it's now fairly easy to do. And then the last one, Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go. This is an absurd title, and the plot is absurd, and I don't care. I love it. This is one of those. There was a discussion in one of the Slack channels I'm in about how you don't mind an absurd movie if the movie acknowledges that it's absurd, and that's part of the experience. And so that's what this is, man. This is just taking the absurdity and kicking it up to about a 20. And having these roller derby girls having to fight kaiju while doing roller derby, being in a band, and so on. And it is fun from start to finish. About not Balam, I'm sorry, blanking on the name now. Day's almost over, so but the second one is actually on Kickstarter now. I'm already a backer, and I highly recommend you can pick up 1 and 2, and I highly recommend it. Again, it's absurdist fun, and absurdist fun is great. We need more of that in our lives. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for those of you who popped in live. I appreciate that. And, again, there are so many indie comics on Kickstarter to back. So it's really hard to decide which ones are the best and which ones are worth your money and not. Of the 210 I backed, these were the 15 that I liked the most from some really, really amazing artists and authors. And, I hope to see. I'd love to hear in the comments what your favorite Kickstarters were for 2024. I think that it'd be really cool because I'm sure everybody has a slightly different list, and I'd love to see which ones you backed and what you liked. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.